morning. Welcome back to Daybreak on this 9th day of November 2021. My name is Sam Gituku and it's now 22 minutes to 7 o'clock and it's time to have a conversation around several matters affecting the nation. To introduce the panel, we have Kipruto Arap Kirwa, the Vice Chairperson of the UDA party.
Deputy
Chairperson?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Deputy Chairperson of the UDA party. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
We have Opiyo Wandayi, Member of Parliament for Ugunja. Welcome back. And Aidan Kenan, he is the MP for Elders, but also the Joint Secretary of the Jubilee Parliamentary Group. Welcome back to the show.
Good morning, viewers.
And Beatrice Alachi, the CAS of Public Service, Gender Affairs, but also a Special Programs Ministry. Now it's a big ministry.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, all of you. And I want us to begin by looking what is in the papers. And quickly, on the front page of the Daily Nation, you'll see the story that is making headlines has been making headlines for the past few days. The high cost of indiscipline, wave of unrest as parents have been slapped with bills amounting to millions of shillings for reconstruction and repair of damaged buildings, while students have found culpable face expulsion from school, and a permanent criminal tag that you'll see them rejected in other institutions, bringing their learning to an end. That's what the Cabinet Secretary for Education has said. Then who will stop horror of school inferno? A number of school dormitories have been set ablaze in the last few weeks, with many of the cases being blamed on students' frustrations. The fire incidences have led to serious injuries, loss and disrupted learning, and now Kenyans want them stopped. Interior CS from Matiang'i and Education CS Judge Magoha must take charge. And let me quickly begin from there by just taking the feel of the leaders here. Honorable Kenan, I'm not sure I've had any reported case from your region, but when you reflect on this, and of course what the Cabinet Secretary is saying, that parents obviously will have to meet the cost of the damage, but also the learners that will be found culpable will be barred from accessing any other learning institution, and they will carry that criminal tag. What's your take on how we have been dealing with this, what appears now to be a seasonal menace every single year?
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, I think this is a crisis. It's a problem. And we need to look at it from four perspectives. One, have parents played their role as expected? Because teenage lives require constant parental guidelines. That is one. Second, are the teachers, the leadership of schools who are entrusted with these students playing also their role? Mm-hmm. Again, there must be some lacunas, there must be some deficiencies in the administrative structures of school that may be contributing to this. Equally, we need to look at also the society, because these days a lot of social media effects. Every child has a telephone, a smartphone. They try to ape certain things. So this being the case, are schools prepared to mentor students? Are the teacher fraternity ready to play their noble role? Because teaching is a noble role. Mm-hmm. So all these combined, instead of just right now talking about the cost of UPS, the cost that is another level. Mm-hmm. But we need to address the causes. What is causing this? Is it drugs? Is it poor administrative management? Is it societal pressures? Is it social media effect? Once we know the causes, and you can see now it's all over. It's widespread. It's not only in a particular area. Mm-hmm. It's all over. It's all over the country now. And the level at which this is happening is a crisis. I think there is need to call stakeholders, in particular parents, teachers association, representative of the teacher fraternity, and the government system. So this issue is properly addressed. If this is not addressed, then the issue of putting back or reconstructing a dormitory that has been banned, I think should come last. Okay. What is important at this stage is we need to stop the menace. How to stop the menace? Do these students require some sort of psychological, mentoring? Do they require counseling? Do they require more parental involvement in what they do? Are schools still having chaplains? Are school, in the old days, every school used to have a religious counselor. In the old days, we used to have paid for by the government. Mm-hmm. Have that system been disregarded? Do we need to bring it back? Because these students might also require, at this tender age, some sort of spiritual nourishment. Is this missing? Have we focused too much on examinations? This thing they are calling the Pangen concept, that you will be judged by the scores that you have. That might not reflect the actual human being actually in that particular student. So is there an overemphasis on passing exam that is putting too much pressure on the student? This is why today I want to appeal to the CS Education to put in place a special task force to address these issues and come up with urgent remedies that will address the whole issue holistically.
All right, and CAS, as a parent and someone who went to school in the early years, while you were in school, did you have such situations? And when you reflect on what's going on at the moment, I mean, what could be causing this, that parents and teachers are not doing right for their young ones?
Well, first of all, when we were in school, I think the way we were disciplined by our parents, and then you come to school, you find again another parent who is your teacher, was so different. But let me start with us parents. We can never blame our children, because we have decided our children must grow up in a situation that I didn't grow up. And so you decide your child can never be disciplined, even when you know your child has a challenge. Even when you know your child is a stubborn child, but you have said that child should not be disciplined. But you're not the parent. In 4 months, in a year, you see your child when they close school. So most of the time, who is the parent? Is the teacher. And so when you tell a teacher that you cannot discipline my parent, fine. You'll say you don't want them to be beaten. But then there's other disciplines that we used to do in school. You'll be told to go to the shamba and do a row and a row and a row if you don't want to be beaten. And then we came and we started again interfering with the guidelines of a school. For example, the schools that were for churches, they had their own way of disciplining children. But then parents would come and start again complaining. And then we moved on slowly by slowly. We have now taken over. Parents are part of the BOG of the school. And so you find we have so interfered with now school life until it becomes a family thing. And therefore, children will know our parents will come. And so for me, first of all, in terms of can we rethink the whole process of a school? Can we remember the days the church used to help us in taking over some of the schools? As government, can we start going back to work with stakeholders? If a school can be run by the church, let it be run by the church. And let us not interfere. But the government should come in and see whether they are following the right syllabus, the doctrine is right for the school, and also ensure that our teachers of TSC in school. But today, why teachers are relaxed is because you can take a teacher to court and he will be jailed for nothing. So let us first accept, all of us as parents, that there's somewhere we have gone wrong, all of us. And then ask ourselves, how do we come back on the table to now discuss? Because if your child is coming home, indeed you will have to send her back or him with 25,000 shillings per child. And so you don't break it down and tell me you have 50 million or the teacher will go with 30 million. That is not the issue. The issue is, why in the first place would you come back to my house and you have just burned a school? Yeah, that's me now. That's me with my child now. You with your child, I know you will be maybe saying, oh, it is okay. I won't say it is okay. I will have to tell you, if you want to be a leader tomorrow, definitely you cannot be one of those who have just burned a school, knowing very well you've just been home for 1 year because of COVID.
Right.
Knowing very well parents don't have money. Knowing very well we have had to have very short breaks. So you're coming home, a parent looks for money, you have to go back. Sam, it is time we speak to our children.
All right.
Yeah.
And Honorable Opiyo Wandayi, we've not heard of Miranda School getting into what happened Sunday night, to the extent that now the school has been closed down and I believe some 6 students arrested. When you reflect on what's happening, where did it begin? Is it a societal problem, or is it just the indiscipline of learners and the changing environment in learning institutions?
Well, Sam, it is unfortunate that it has come to what it is. And this actually portends a very, very gloomy picture in the coming months or so, when the students are supposed to be going to sitting for the exams. A school of the stature of Parental shouldn't have been shut down on account of such a misdemeanor. But I think we are staring at a complex situation that does not really have quick fix solutions in the manner we are attempting to approach it. It is not really the first time that there's this spate of riots and orgy of burning dormitories and the likes in schools. It has happened in the past. But I don't think we have been able to really identify the root cause. Whereas I agree to a large extent with the Cabinet Secretary that the act of burning dormitories, which is basically arson, is a criminal act that has to be dealt with through the criminal justice system. But I think even as we do so, we would simply be addressing the symptoms without really tackling the root cause. My colleagues have attempted to diagnose the issue. I won't really belabor. But I think in as much as we want to deal with the parenting question, we must also ask ourselves if our school management is kept abreast with the changing needs of taking care of children and pupils and students in schools. Or I'm not sure if the curriculum for these school managers has changed with time, as indeed it should, so that they are able to take care of these young people who are growing up in totally different circumstances from which we grew up ourselves. Finally, is the question again of boarding schools. This matter has been brought up a number of times before. Whether we really need to maintain them in the form that they are.
What's your suggestion?
Well, you know, we are having children who are growing up in a world which is very, 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 very different in terms of technology and the likes. So if we are to keep them in a school, in a boarding school setup for 4 months, for 5 months, in a year, non-stop, you must be prepared to deal with the issues that come with it. My thinking is that we have to look at the question of boarding schools very, very critically. I'm not really saying that we should abolish them, but perhaps scale them down.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, Mheshimiwa Kirwa, look, could it be, because the best way to teach a child is by action. They see what the adults are doing. Could it be that they have learned from the best, that they are doing what they are doing because of how we deal with our conflict as adults, not necessarily by burning, but how we react with each other? And how do you get out of this situation?
Yeah, it's partly you are reading my mind, in the sense that the children are a reflection of society they live in. And if there is a lot of bad manners pervading our environment, there's no way these children are going to be isolated and create some good manners. The picture that I see on page 16 of the Daily Nation speaks volumes about that particular issue. We do not communicate at all. Everybody has buried his head in the sand, be it parents, the government, the institutions of higher learning, and all the stakeholders. We are not communicating. And our society has gotten into this high pedestal of ensuring that I always believe that what I know is the best, and what else I do not know is not important to our society. The second issue is the issue of the school curriculum. You remember this year, we've had a lot of short holidays, at times for 2 days, and the pressure piling on these children creates a lot of confusion. And as you know, once confusion takes over, anything can happen. But much more important is, I think we need to scale down our toxic levels, both in terms of leaders as ourselves, and also members of society. You remember there is a challenge that we've been seeing in the police, where they've been killing each other, and so many other untold murders between people who ought to have been friends before, but all of a sudden they decide to score it out or square it out by killing each other. And there is the issue of mental health in Kenya. We are pretending, but our society is not healthy. For every 4 Kenyans, one has a mental problem. So if we were to use the same, it's highly likely that one of us in this room has a mental challenge in terms of health-wise. It is a challenge that we must confront as a society and at all levels. And of important, I want to emphasize there must be communication. There must be consultation. You see, a student is not an isolated element. There is the school environment, there is the immediate environment, and also the wider environment of parents. Finally, TSC and other institutions of higher learning, they should not just be churning out regulations without effective consultation with all the stakeholders, with, be it the teachers' union, be it the parents' organizations, so that we speak to each other and we are able to communicate and say what is bedeviling our society. That is where the problem lies.
Okay, and of course the conversation continues in as far as that school unrest is concerned. There is a mid-term or half-term break that is scheduled for 19th of November. That should be next week for about 3 or 4 days, because they should return on the 23rd of November to continue with the term that should end on the Christmas week. So that they can now close for the second term and come back for the third term